Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and thumb up. I'm the Tech Thinker. Today we are going to learn methods in Java. Let's create a new class as always, and we call that methods. And we select here public static void main, which is actually a method. So what is actually a method? Well, a method is like a function. So we use it in order to solve some tasks. So let's say if you want to calculate something, then we call a method. And the method is a part of the code which contains the code in order to do this task. Okay, so you can see a public static void is a method, and this is the main method of every Java class. Let's create another method. We will use the same words here, public. I will not now explain what these are. I will do that in a couple of videos. Public, let's write static, okay, and then let's write void, and then we can just choose a name for a method. Let's say sum, okay, and then we have to give here inside, we don't have to, but we can, some parameters. Let's say we want to have here an integer. We call this integer number 1, and then we want another integer. Let's call this integer number 2. So this is actually a method like this one here. Okay, so in this method then we take the we create a new variable. We call this variable sum, which is equal to number 1 plus number 2. We print in the console the result, so the variable sum, and that's it. Now we can save it, and if we run the application, we don't see anything here. Okay, why? Well, this is because, like I said, main, it's the main method of every Java class. So if we want to start a method, we have to call this method. We just write this method here, but we didn't actually call this method. In order to do that, we have to call it here or in another method. Let's just keep it simple now, and I will call this here, and I will say sum. Okay, and that's it. But as you can see here, I have an error here, and let's say, and the error say the method sum int. It means with these two integers. So the method takes two integers in the type methods is not applicable for the argument without values, parameters. Okay, so actually I cannot call this method without giving here some parameters. And which parameters should I give? Well, let's say 5 and let's say 4. Okay, now if we run this program, we have the result 9. So we call in this method main another method sum, and we give to this method 5 and 4. This method just take these two values, make an addition, and then print in the console this addition. Okay, we can also do something different. Let's say integer first number equal to 5, and integer second number equal to 4. Okay, let's change it. Actually, let's 3 and 7 and 4. Okay, and then we call again this method with these variables: first number and second number. So I forgot here n equal to. So as you can see here, we can call a method a lot of times. So 2, 3, 4 times and so on, okay? In the first case, I just use variables. I declare variables here and then give some values and then just call the method with the variable's name, first number and second number. In the second case, I just give two integer because they are integer here, integer number 1, integer number 2. Now, if we start our program, we see we have two results. First of all is this one. So the method sum was called here in the line 7 and just sum the numbers. So 3 plus 4, 7. And the second call is here in the line 8 and just add 5 and 4. And the result is, of course, 9. Okay. So we can, of course, just create another method. Let's say public static void, and we call that multiplication. Okay, and it also takes an integer number 1. We can call this. We can give another name. I just keep it simple and I call it a number 1. But you can say number 2, 3, 4. You can call it Samsung or I don't know what. Int number 2, and we do the same thing. We call this. We create a variable. We call this variable multiplication, which is equal to number 1 asterisk and number 2, and then we print this variable here. Okay, so now again, if we start this program, we don't have result here. Why? Because we didn't call multiplication, this method. Well, we can do that here like we did with sum, or we can just run it here, call it here, and this is what we are gonna do. So let's call this method multiplication, number 1 and number 2. Okay, so and if we run the application, we have the first result, which is 7. 3 plus 4, 7, and then so we call in the main method the method sum with two parameters, first number and second number, so with the values 3 and 4. This method is called, print the result, this sum here, which is 7, and then run another method. The method is in this case multiplication, and this multiplication just give us the result of this multiplication, so number 1 and number 2, which is 12. Okay, we are here in this moment. When this task is over, then the program in the main method go ahead. Okay, and then just call the second method here, the method sum with the values 5 and 4. The sum of 5 of 4 is 9, which is right, and then this method, when we are here, we'll call this other method multiplication, which is give us as a result 20, which is also right. Okay, so this is actually methods. So you use methods. Every class has methods, and we use methods in order to solve some problem, to solve tasks. Okay. You can write a lot of methods. If you write more methods, it's better, because then other people can easily understand what you are writing. Your code is better to understand than just write the whole code in the main method here. Okay, and don't forget this: the main method is the start method of every class. So if you want to run other methods, you have to call the method here in the main method. Okay, there is something different. If we, for example, we don't want only to print some results in the console or to call other application. We want actually that the method give us a result, a number, something that we can use. Okay, let's do that. I want to make public another method, and I call it public static, and we write here int, and we call this method sum 3 numbers. Okay, so, and of course it takes an integer number 1, an integer number 2, and an integer number 3. Okay, so we create here a new variable, let's call it sum, and then this variable is just add the 3 variables, number 1 plus number 2 plus number 3, and then as usually we call what's this out? We call this variable, and rerun the result here. Okay, so let's just comment this this one here. So as you can see here, we have an error. Let's take a look. This method must return a result of type int. Why? Because we wrote here int, and this means that we want from this method a result back, something back. So in this case, because we wrote here int, we want an integer back. In order to do that, we have to use the word return. Okay, as you can see, return is in orange, and we want the sum in this case. Okay, and we don't have the error anymore. So if we call this method, we will get back a value. This value is this variable sum. Okay, of course you can also write here 10. This is also okay, yeah, but you can also use variables. In this case, we want to have the result back. Okay, so now of course if we run the application, we don't have results here because we have to call this method here, and this is what we want to do, and we want to call this, let's keep it simple, then we give another number, and then we give 3. Let's say the result must be 11. Okay, so we run it, and the result is 11, which is 11, which is right. Okay, so but I want to use the result that I have back here, and the result should be a sum, so the sum of these 3 numbers. How can I do that? Well, let's say I create here a new variable, integer. I call this variable sum of 2 methods equal to this method plus this method sum, where I have to give here 2 parameters, and these 2 parameters must be just, we keep it simple, 2 and 2. Okay, and you have to add here a plus, so that we can add this method here plus this method here. So we have here an error. Let's take a look why. This is because you use two methods. The first one gives back an integer. The second one gives nothing back because we wrote here void. Okay, if we change it, we write here integer, and if we give back here also sum, we don't have the error anymore. Okay, so that's it. Now we want actually do something with some of two methods. Okay, I want to print sum of two methods. Okay, here, and I give some text here. The results of the operations in these two methods is okay. So, and we want to print this text in the console. So that I just want to show you that we can actually use again the result, the value here in somewhere. Okay, I can also use the result and send the result again to these methods, but we want to keep it that simple. I run the program. So, and I have the first value is 11. Why? This is because I give 4, 4, and 3, and this is 11. So we call here the method sum three numbers, which is here, return a sum back of this three method, and this result is 11, and we print this result in the console here in this line. Okay, so we have 11 here, and then we call another method sum with two values, 2 and 2, and again, which is actually here, we add these two values, we print the sum. Actually, this method call the multiplication method here with these two values, 2 and 2, and print the multiplication, which is also 4. Okay, then it goes back, it goes return a sum. The sum was 4. Okay, so we get now the 4, and then we add with this plus the result of this method with the result of this method, which is of course 15, and then we use this value here and we run and we just print the result here. So we say the results of the operation, the result, which is, this is an error, the result of the operations in these two methods is, and we have the result here. So these are actually methods and how they works. It is very important to understand that we can call methods in the class, in the main class, in order to start our program. But now we can, of course, we can also call methods in other methods, like here, for example, multiplication. It is important that we give the start, and this start, at the moment, we give, if we we call the method in the main method, which is where Java will at first just take a look and just run the whole program. Okay, so and don't forget to use the word return if we want just some results. In this case, we want some results back, and we use return sum. In this other case, we don't want, we just use it because we want just to print the result, but we don't do anything with the result, and that's why we don't need it, so we don't want it. Okay, I want to just make another example, do another example with other data type. Let's say true, let's call it true or false, this method, and it takes also it takes a boolean, and we call this boolean is true. Okay, so and then I use this result here, okay, and this result should be 15, okay. So I call this method, I call this method here true or false. Oh, let's change it. I want just to use here I want just an integer back, okay. This integer is a number, okay, and then I want to just give the result here, sum of two methods. So here I will call this method true or false. Here I will test. I will use if number is equal to 15, we create a boolean here. Boolean here is true equal to true. So if number equal to 15, return is true, okay. In other cases, we want return, we set is true to false, and we return is true. Okay, so then we want to use the result here of true or false and create a variable here, and we call this variable boolean, let's call it let's call it is true, okay. So, and now I want to print this here. The result is true, okay. So what I did is actually I use the values of the this method, which of this variable which calls two different methods, and I use it and I send it in another method. The name of this method is true or false, and this method take an integer number and create a boolean variable. The value of this variable is set to true. If the number is equal to 15, return is true, which means the value of is true, and the value of is true. If not, is true equal to false, and return is true. In this case will be false, okay. The value of the variable is true will be false, okay. So, and then we print here, we use the variable here, the value we set the value in this variable is true here, and then we print the result here. So let's run the application, and we have here the result. The result is true. After that, we will print this one here. That's why we have the result here and not here. I just comment that the result is true. Why? Well, because the result is 15 here. And is you have to understand, when we use the word return, the code will be not read anymore, okay. So if this situation is right, so the number equal to 15, and the programmer go inside this condition, if there is the word return, it stopped here. So the code, so the program will not continue to run. This method will not continue to run. Okay, if I, for example, change a value, let's say I change the value here and I write 3 and I run the application again. As you can see here, the value is not 15 anymore. So number is not equal to 15, which is why we don't go inside here in this, we don't go ahead here with the line 36. We just jump here. The value, the variable is true is set as false and return this variable. If we are trying, and this is why we have here now false. If we try to just write something here, for example, let's create a new variable as an example. Let's create a variable number equal to 5. Okay, so we have here an error, and the error says, let's call it with another name. Okay, and the error says unreachable code. Why? Well, because this is after this return. So we don't have this, this code is not reachable actually, okay? In this case here, we don't have this error because this code is not reachable only if this condition is true. So only if number is equal to 15. If not, we'll just jump this, this line here and just go here to this line, okay? So this is actually these are actually the basics that you have to know in order to use methods. You can use it, of course, with every data type, with integer, double, without, so with void, with boolean, with strings, and so on. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thumb up, subscribe, and see you in the next video. Bye.